in case you didn't know, I am going on tour this summer. Go to mcchris.com and check out all my tour dates. Over 45 shows. We're coming to your town, or we're not coming to your town. Please let me know if I'm not coming to your town in the comments on any place you see this podcast. Let me know where we should go. If I have a day off and you'd like to book a show with me, write me at mcchrisbooking@gmail.com. Otherwise, if you'd like to just come see a show and celebrate 20 years of touring with me, go to mcchris.com and get your tickets today. Okay, let's start the podcast. Yeah, there's this trend on TikTok right now where it shows... My grandma says she used to break hearts when she was a teenager or when she was young. And then they do a montage of pictures of their grandparents in their 20s looking super hot. And it's amazing how people, like, because you grow up, and let's say we grew up in the 80s, and we see old people on, like, Murder, She Wrote, and we see old people do guest starring spots on shows, and the first time we see them as old people.
Sure.
And then you watch a movie that they were in when they were hot, and when they were, like, famous, and it's like a totally different person.
So you're falling in love with all these women, people's grandmothers.
I have this thing where I save photos of hot people from like 80 years ago. And
just have a lot of black and white photos.
I just have a lot of black and white. I look like
this hot one.
A time traveling serial
look
killer.
Look at that bonnet she's wearing. Look how hot she looks in that
look at that bonnet.
That cinch waist corset.
I bet she could churn some butter.
Look at those high button shoes.
I bet she's good at making furniture.
She could darn the fuck out of some socks.
She could twist a pretzel.
I'll tell you that much.
I'm just thinking of the Amish. I love you go to the food court in like Philly when we did that con. There's a food court like right next to it, and it's filled with just Amish food.
Oh, the
Amish pretzels.
What is it? Not Grand Central Market. That's here.
Reading.
What's the one there? Is
it Reading?
Reading Central Terminal.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Maybe that is what it is.
Is that what it is?
I love these things. They whip those pretzels around and slap them down.
Yeah.
And there's also not Joe Pat's. It's the best. People talk about the cheesesteak.
Oh my God, don't get started.
But
don't
it's
get me
really
started on the cheesesteaks.
The roast pork and broccoli Rob sandwich. That's the real one to get.
In Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I lived in Philly.
That's the real one. I
got mugged. I was addicted to Coke. I did ecstasy all the time.
Well, that's why I got robbed. You're kissing robbers all the time.
I was on ecstasy.
You were so
making out with somebody. I'm like, where should we take this to the bedroom? And they're like, no, why don't you take out your wallet?
I'm taking your wallet. How long did you live in Philly for?
Why did you live? I moved to LA right after college because I had Kermit the Frog disease, which is like I want to go and make people happy.
You were in love with the pig.
That too. But I wanted to go to LA, and I studied screenwriting at NYU. I wanted to go to LA, and I was talking to the producer from Everybody Loves Raymond. Like we wrote letters back and forth, like my senior year of college. So I had an interview with him, and I went into...
what's his name? Phil something?
It was Stu Lyons was his name. And he would send me little notes on Everybody Loves Raymond paper. And I remember complaining, I'm like, my teacher says I have to write an episode of Frasier or Friends, but I want to write an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, and it was their first year. So he liked some kid, kissing his ass, thinking it was good. And he's like, we'll have a meeting. Come to LA and we'll talk.
Cool.
And then I get there and he read my script. He's like, well, you're funny, but you need to go to graduate school. You need to go to school again. And so that was like the first bad thing that happened. And then I remember I was in a car at a car dealership and we were looking at cars that were too expensive. And my dad was like, I can't pay for this. And I'm like crying in a car in a dealership being like, I don't think this is going to work out. I was just drinking gin and looking at girls at the pool. Like, I'm like, this isn't what I thought it would be. And
this was in L.A.? You were drinking gin and...
I was at a Holiday Inn Express, and there was a liquor store right next to it, and I would just, at the end of the day of like trying to get things going, I would just buy a bottle of gin. And
where was the Holiday Inn?
Gosh, I don't remember.
In Hollywood?
I don't remember.
The Valley.
It wasn't the Valley. I didn't know the Valley existed. I think I must have been around Marina Del Rey or something like that.
Oh.
But my dad said to me, "There's a return ticket in your bag."
Wow.
He had no faith.
Wow.
No faith in me. And so my parents had moved from Chicago to Philly as soon as I left for college because they're like, well, we don't have to be here anymore. And my dad...
Why were they in Chicago?
My dad was the vice president of the Philadelphia Stock Exchange.
He was in Chicago?
He was in... Well, he would move to Philly and to do that job. He used to be at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, where that scene from Ferris Bueller happens, where they go to the stock exchange. And
that's when you grew up. He was doing that in Chicago.
I grew up, with going to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and like seeing the stock market.
And at what point in your life did he get the job in Philly then?
As soon as I left for
college.
As soon as I started at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and I transferred to NYU. And by the time I was done, they were settled in Philly, and I had been taking the train from Penn Station to what's it called in Philly, Union Station.
Oh yeah, that'd be easy down there.
And so it was a quick train ride.
Ironically, Penn Station's in New York.
Yeah,
you'd think they have a New York station in Philadelphia then.
Figure it out, New York.
Didn't
they lived in the Rittenhouse Hotel, which was like 4 seasons. They lived at the top of it. And like Oprah would live there, or I'd like bump into Tony Bennett in the lobby. And
hey, there's that little guy in all black.
I know you.
Old gin breath. You want to go down and check out some...
Man, you can drink, boy.
You want to check out some hot chicks at the pool? Drink a little juice. Hey.
The girls here are old, but Tony likes it.
My friend Erica used to wait on Tony Bennett every morning at the Brooklyn Diner in Manhattan, and he'd get a bowl of oatmeal, and one day he
That's why I lived to 110.
Well, one day he came in with his girlfriend, who was like 27 years old, and her parents, and he presented them both with gifts. She doesn't know what the dad got, but the mother had one of those jewelry boxes, like from a real fancy, not stupid, a real fancy jeweler in New York that was so fancy it opened like whatever you call this, like not a clamshell. It had like 2 openings on top that would fan out opening, and then the necklace is like on a little fake mold of a neck, so it sits in the box perfect, and matching ear that we're sure were like $50,000. And he's like, hey, I'm getting this because I'm fucking your daughter. I hope you like this very expensive piece of jewelry.
Your daughter's got a sweet, sweet puss.
She's really got it just how I like it.
But yeah, I'd see all kinds of people. And you know how it is when you bump into somebody famous and you're not a fan, but you have to come up with something quick to say. And I would see like one of the guys from Boys to Men. I'd be like, your music saved my life.
Just lying to people.
Just lying to anybody who's famous and shaking their hand.
Just a gin-soaked liar walking around.
I'm not drinking gin anymore. I'd moved on to stealing my dad's wine.
Oh. Now your dad, they must have been loaded if they lived at this place.
They were loaded.
I mean, head of the...
Yeah.
I thought you always had this hard scrapple upbringing.
No.
We
always had money, and then we had more money as... What was that? And we had more money. That was your alien.
Yes.
That sits on your shoulder.
It's happened 3 times.
It's that little butterfly thing from Captain EO. Sits on your shoulder. But he, I would steal his wine, and he told me I drank too much, but he was like...
Also drank too much.
Also was an alcoholic. And then they found my pot, and they were like... Because I was waiting tables across the park at Houlihan's. And I was hanging out with waiters. I was smoking pot.
Oh yeah.
Doing drugs. And they found my pot, and they're like, you can't, if you smoke pot, you got to leave the apartment. And I'm like, if you kick me out, that's not love.
Their parents said if you smoke pot, we're kicking you out of the apartment.
And I said, if you do that, then you don't love me. And then
they were like, your bags are packed.
You're like, well, ding, ding, ding.
Wow.
But it smoothed out. They chilled out. I think they just weren't used to having such a sloppy son who didn't know how to hide his weed.
Wow.
And but yeah, I would run into lots of famous people at this hotel. And then one time Bill Clinton was doing a fundraiser and they put wood panels, plywood panels on the windows, and so nobody could snipe Bill Clinton while he was fundraising. And I was always smoking weed in the stairwell, and the security guards would be walking up
to make sure
the stairwell. And
the Secret Service guys?
Yeah, well, the security guards of the hotel were always walking up the stairwell, and I'd be smoking, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's the rich pothead on 22."
Right.
And then I remember I was walking up to the building, and they said, I said, "What's going on?" Because there was like so much hubbub, and they're like, "Bill Clinton's here." Nope, you better stay out of the stairwell today.
Wow.
And
you basically were like Eloise.
Yeah.
The girl who lives at the Plaza Hotel.
Yeah, no, I mean it was they had this great restaurant called the Boathouse Row that had the boat of Grace Kelly's brother who used to do crew on the Schuylkill River, and I could just go into that restaurant and just eat there every day and just sign it to the room, and I did that a lot.
Jesus.
Eating chicken fingers.
Living the life of 10 men. Why the hell did you go to LA?
Well, I didn't.
And why did your dad say he couldn't afford this car? Jesus.
That's a good point.
Jesus.
He was always, I think at that point in his life, it might have been a midlife crisis thing where he was kind of living outside of his means, maybe. I don't know. I mean, my mom worked at Barnes & Noble, which was right on the park. I worked at Houlihan's, which was right on the park. Yeah, and then he got fired. I came home one day.
Oh.
He was sitting in his chair.
Oh.
And he's like, sit down. And he's like, you need to grow up.
Whoa.
And you need to move out. And you need to get started.
And you need to find a place for me to move in with you.
And I'll be living with you. It's the Andy Rooney Goes to College sitcom.
Now it's making sense why I had an Italian tailor, though. Guy making his suits.
Yeah.
His ball-cupping pants.
Yeah. Yes, wait. He had, like, my mom was always taking his clothes to the dry cleaner and picking up his clothes and, like, ironing and maintaining his outfits, and she was a very dutiful.
Old school wifing duties.
Old school wife. But yeah, no, and then I moved to 2 Street in South Philly, which was like a war zone.
What neighborhood was it in?
South Philly.
Oh.
And I lived on 2 Street, which was like the infamous, they had a row of like drinking clubhouses. They weren't even bars, they were clubhouses for mummers.
Yep.
And I wanted to film a documentary about these guys, so I would film them all the time. And there's one day where they were rehearsing under the underpass, and they were yelling at each other, and the head guy was like, "Shut that off! Shut that off!" He's like, and then he came up to me after, he was like, "You got to cut the documentary. We got too many guys on workman's comp. You got video footage of them dancing around. They're gonna lose their comp." And I was like, Jesus Christ!
Or the workman's comp guys could just come to the mummers parade and see these guys dancing around. I have been cleaning out my storage shed, and I just found
your mummer outfit.
Yeah, I did.
You have a mummer outfit.
Yeah, I just found it.
Explain what a mummer is to the audience.
Yeah, like a mummer. The mummers parade is the New Year's Day parade in Philadelphia. The mummers have been around for a long time, but for some reason the tradition only caught on in Philadelphia. And they're like private clubs. It's almost like Carnival in Brazil. Sorry, Carnival.
I was like, what are you talking about? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Oh, Carnival, yes.
Carnival.
But they have they're all string bands, which basically means like you're going to watch. The crazy thing is they're blue-collar guys for the most part.
It's borderline mafia.
And they're all alcoholics. I say this in a loving, nurturing, caring way. So they have like their clubhouse, and like on January 2nd, they'll figure out what the theme for next year is. So like, we're going to be Kermit the Frogs, and we're going to play Rainbow Connection. So but they spend all year making their costumes and learning their little routines. And most of them play the banjo, which is the best part about it. Because you just hear like, oh God, like, when it's 7:30 in the morning and the streets already smell like urine and Leinenkugel stale beer, that's
how it normally smelled
in
South Philly.
Yeah. But they're like social organizations. They have a clubhouse. Their main event, it's sort of like the cruise in New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Like they do social things to help the community, but really it's like a clubhouse, and they have this one event every year that's amazing.
It was so weird.
I mean,
it really felt cult-like.
Anybody listening should look up the Mummers Parade, because it is awesome.
Yeah, I weaseled my way into a clubhouse.
What
and
club was
got
it?
to
Do
drink.
you remember?
I don't
You're
remember.
not allowed to.
I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
But like I weaseled my way in, was filming them, but man, I think they all hated me and were like, "Why is this kid here?"
Well, everybody's got a racket.
Yeah, no, it definitely was something not right about the whole thing.
I know, like, where I grew up in Pennsylvania, always had private clubs, but for nothing more than for drinking.
Yeah.
Because I think the bar law in at least the town I grew up in had to be closed by something like 11 or 12. Mm-hmm. But if it was a private club, you could be open however long you wanted. Mm. So there would be like,
they're probably just avoiding some sort of tax
100%.
thing or rule
and because
thing.
Like you had to buy a membership card. The membership card were literally like if we had gone to Easton, you came with me, and we wanted to go to the Repo Club, I could get you a membership. They're all locked. There's always like this, you got to be buzzed in. And you have to show your membership card, but they all know you. Like a membership for the year is $5. It's not like, and they're like, hold on, I'm like, the bartender, Donnie, Chris needs a card.
Things would, as is often the case with drinking, and I've brought this up before, there would come a point in the event or the day, especially New Year's Day, where it's like that night, at some point it would turn into a riot. It would just like, there'd be so many people in the street. And I remember because I was at the top of a brownstone. I shared the brownstone with a couple of other waiters. We had the whole building, and I had a view right on 2nd Street. And I remember just looking down at a sea of people. And at one point, it's like
sparks off.
Something happened, and everybody started fighting.
Yeah,
all at once. And then cops came, and everybody cleared out.
Yeah, Philadelphia is always. I mean, I think. Let me know if you agree. Philadelphia is a rowdy town.
It was the scariest,
scariest
time of my life.
Philadelphia audiences have always been like the most vocal, loud, screaming. Not necessarily. I don't
know if I would characterize the audiences that way, but when cheering. I lived there, I was scared.
I don't mean cheering. I mean just like screaming and talking at you.
I did a show at. I did a show at Kung Fu Necktie, and it was a tiny little venue. I had to sell my merch on pool tables, which I have to do occasionally, and but it was packed, and they were. I mean, sometimes, for the most part, I feel like I'm in like the latter years of my career. But there are some nights when it feels like 2005, where it feels where something has happened. Something in the water, or something in the beer, or something in the air.
It's all working.
It's all working, and they're just going wild, and I am just Elvis.
Yeah.
And that was like a night in Philly, and I used to play in a basement of a church in the beginning of my touring, and it was a huge basement, and the place would be packed. My brother would come see me, and he'd be like, "This is crazy." Mm-hmm. But it was a huge crowd, and they always had so much energy and so much love. But when I would live there in Philly, I was, for the most part, scared out of my mind. I worked at a pharmaceutical media company. They made infomercials, and it's where Mike Rowe used to be all these
Odd
commercials.
job guys?
Yes.
The odd job guy?
Yeah.
Or the dirty job or whatever?
Yeah. And, but he used to be talent and I would pick him up and I was a PA. I'd do all this stuff for this company after I moved from waiting tables to film production.
Mm-hmm.
And this building that I worked in, you know, was above the Houlihan's that I waited tables in. It was like one floor up. And but I would ride my bike there every day, and I had this drinking buddy, and we'd go to my bar right across from where I live called Nelson's, and she'd drink shots of Sambuca and which is black licorice is the worst taste in the world. And I would get drunk on Yingling and whatever.
Normal stuff.
And so one night she took me out drinking, and we were out drinking way past our when we would normally be drinking. So, and it was like 1 or 2 a.m. and she just left. She just like split and didn't tell me. And
Irish goodbye.
Just ghosted me. And I sold a lot of my drawings from my life that were probably worth a lot of money. And I sold them to her to like fund me moving to get out of Philly. Because there was one point where I was just like, got to get out of here.
Wait, you sold her?
I sold her a bunch of art that I made. So and I don't know what she did with them. She threw them away or what, but like she had all this art.
What kind of art what's your art look like?
It was great. I won like national awards and stuff in high school, and it was like of REM and stuff that I liked in high school. And
you gotta send me some pictures of this stuff.
Yeah,
do you have any pictures of it?
Yeah, I have one picture of like a ink drawing I did that won a national award and got into Scholastic magazine, and I have the Scholastic magazine.
Do you still draw?
When I'm on hold.
Oh,
I also have like an easel in my apartment that I will draw a little cartoon.
Like a daily.
Yes.
It's your Heathcliff.
Yes.
Or Marmaduke.
It usually has something to do with my kid.
Yeah. Okay.
So this woman abandoned me at this club, and I got into a cab, and I was 3 sheets to the wind, and the cab was obviously like had a thing where he knew to drop me off in Heroin Town or something.
He got a cut.
He knew to like drop wasted people off to get mugged.
Right.
So there was this whole like system.
So he didn't take you.
There's a whole system. He didn't take me home. He just dropped me off in the middle of the worst part of Philly, and split. And
maybe he was doing it because he was spiteful.
He could have just been
fucking.
You know what? Could have just been fucking with me. Maybe there was
screw with this guy.
Maybe things weren't so organized. Who knows? But I probably had bad cab karma. But I'm slowly kind of working my way home, and I call my friend. I'm like, I'm at this and this, and my friend finds me, walks me home. Then I hear this running sound. So now if there's ever like a jogger behind me, I immediately get time warped to this moment.
And this is 2 or 3 in the morning.
Who knows? But yes.
Nighttime, though.
Yeah, the dead of night. And a bunch of guys come up to us.
Jesus.
And I just close my eyes tight because I figure they won't murder me if I can't identify them. That was my logic.
Drunk logic.
And I am alive.
You are alive. Well, listen. That's what Dino always says. He goes, you know who's my best friend? Drunk me. Because last night, drunk Dino parked the car off the street because drunk Dino knew there was street sweeping today. And drunk Dino left me a nice big glass of water on the nightstand with 2 little aspirin next to it. So when regular Dino woke up in the morning, drunk Dino left him a beautiful gift of ice water and...
It's a lot of work. But yeah, they had a gun to my head and a gun to my stomach.
2 guns.
They punched... I like looked down for a second and just saw the street light like sparkling off the gun. The gun was so shiny and new. And they punched my friend in the face.
Jesus.
And they didn't find $100 bill that was in my breast pocket along with a pot pipe.
Idiots.
And they didn't search me, enough. But then we got home and all the waiters are there and they're all on coke and they're all like, I remember being surrounded by girls who were fawning over me and everything. And I'm just like, get away from me.
Wait a minute. Once you got back to the house.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because
Yeah.
everyone was still awake.
It was a party house.
Right.
And, but yeah, I remember being like, just like in shock. I must have been in shock. And
it had to be.
Yeah. And then the next day I was just like, you abandoned me and I got mugged. And she was just like, whoops.
Yeah.
That's how the cookie crumbles.
Wow.
And you know how it is when you think somebody is your friend and then they do something crazy. Yeah. And then it's just like, oh, I guess it's over.
Or just a thing like, oh, you really don't give a shit at all about anything.
Or me.
We had a friend.
That's the problem with having relationships that are based on drinking and doing drugs, is that eventually at some point you find out it's not a relationship, it's just like a codependent thing.
Right.
But what were you going to say?
We knew this person in junior high and high school, and this was in New York, and we sort of caught up with them a little bit, and we met them at O'Flaherty's, where we were having like food, and they came with a friend. This was like not super late, it's like 9:00 or 9:30, sort of in between when the shows are going. So it wasn't as crowded. It's not the pre-show crowd and the post-Broadway crowd. And they're like, oh, we'll be right back. We're going to go get some pizza. We'll be right back. Left, never came back. Didn't pay the bill for the thing they ordered. And I turned to my friend Julie was like, he will just never not be an asshole. I said, I think you're right. I was like, oh, it'll be nice to see them.
Yeah.
And she was like, Dane, no.
I really actually miss my drinking buddies from Philly, and I don't see them anymore. And it's kind of like the law of sobriety that you can't.
Yeah, you'd go right back to it.
Not that you'd go back to it, but you just don't revisit that world. But I would love to like contact these guys and be, because I live with these two waiters. They're both named Mike.
Of course.
And we had a lot of hilarious times, a lot of fun memories. We laughed constantly, 24 hours a day, just laughing. And they were like maybe my best audience and kind of encouraged me to become the performer that I eventually became because they just thought I was the funniest guy in the world. I miss these guys though, and I remember talking to one of them on the phone, and it was weird. It was like we were catching up, but it's like you take the booze out of the equation, you take that daily drinking routine out of the equation, and then it's just like, well, I'm gonna go. Yeah, me too. This isn't fun.
Yeah, that's how Tony Bennett felt when last time he called you. Hey, want to grab some gin? Look at the girls at the pool. No, I don't do that anymore, Tony.
Ooh.
Well, I got to go buy some $50,000 necklaces for my mistresses.
Guess I'll do another painting.
Yeah.
Another painting.
I know I did the other week, but like I very much enjoy / miss being in a bar room.
Yeah.
Like I love like when it's not crowded. But like, when you're in New York, sometimes like we'll be walking around like, you know what, let's go in there and have one beer. It's like 2 p.m. So it's not a scene, but it's like an old kind of smells like stale shit. And I love that sort of like.
I mean, I have, like, I don't know about you, but on Facebook, I have this addiction to joining groups, just constantly joining any group that has anything to do with my interests. And like British pubs, Irish pubs. Like, I love these buildings. I love these spaces. Yeah. I love how they're decorated, even if it's fake. Yeah. Even if it's like TGI Fridays and it's just like, this is a fake bar, where we've imported these antiques and, bric-a-brac. But, I like the authentic stuff because usually authentic just means it's like a mess that is accumulated and slowly kind of grown into what it is
a weird
today.
Organic H.R. Geiger of pub.
Yeah, but I love these spaces, and I mean that's my thing. Is like I always want to go to Ireland. I feel like I want to die there. I want to like spend the end of my life there, and I don't know if I could continue to be sober and not like, because I'd want to go into these spaces and hear the music and everybody would be drinking and it'd be like the most tempting place in the world, you know? It's like, that's the last place you should be. But I'm like, I'm so drawn to it.
You could do like, what's his name? Leonard Cohen or some whatever. Like, you know, when he turned like 80 or something or 85, he was like, I'm going to start smoking again. I loved smoking. I miss it.
You stopped, didn't you? Did you stop?
Oh, yeah. I used to smoke a lot a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then I stopped. And it would be weird. Like, it still probably would be like this. If you smoked in this room right now, I would have every cigarette that you would have.
You'd have one too.
But then I would walk out and I do not feel any craving for it.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's like it's a triggering habit, but I was never in my life like, man, I need a cigarette.
It really goes hand in hand with drinking because it's like once you're drunk, you're like, doing something horrible makes sense right now. Hey, so this is MC. If you'd like to advertise on our podcast, please write us at mattersnotpod@gmail.com. We also have a GoFundMe. All of that can be found on our Linktree, linktr.ee/mattersnotpod. Please make a donation. Help me pay for Dana's beverages. Help us pay for studio time and the art. And if we make enough money, we can hopefully start doing video and do all kinds of cool things. Please support us if you can, or advertise on our podcast by writing us at mattersnotpod, mattersnotpod @gmail.com. I remember I used to smoke a lot, especially if I tried to quit weed. And there was another time I tried to quit weed right after my dad died, and I was just smoking American Spirits like crazy. And then I stopped, and then I noticed that, like, now I'm in LA and pretty much nobody smokes here. And except for Europeans, people from another country, like construction workers. We pass by this construction happening every day, and everyone's smoking. And also kids. Kids love to smoke.
My neighborhood, I see so many people, like just in the general area, smoking in their cars with the windows up. Like, I mean, I drove over here, I drove this morning we left at 7:15. I saw 5 different people smoking in their cars with the windows rolled up.
Yeah, that's how much LA hates it.
Like, ugh.
But the thing is that, once you stop a habit, like smoking weed or smoking cigarettes, and you're looking at it from the outside in, and then all of a sudden, it's just, you realize how bad it smells, how bad people smell, how their breath smells, how their hair smells, their clothes. And you can just tell when someone's just been outside and had a cigarette, and you're like, oh my God, that was me.
Yeah.
And it's a real eye-opener.
Well, you know what was interesting to me when I would smoke, because I smoked a lot, I would never have a cigarette before like 5 or 6 o'clock at night. Even with my friends who smoke, I had friends, they'd stay over, like they'd be in from out of town and they're crashing at my place. They would light a cigarette at like 9 in the morning or 10 in the morning or even 1, and it would disgust me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Well, it was a big part of, smoke breaks was like a big part of my post-collegiate life, because wherever I was working, it was just a way to not work. So I was always going outside with the guys that smoked, and it's how you became closer to those two guys. And then I got to Adult Swim, and there were several smokers there. Pete smoked, Mike smoked, Matt smoked.
Oh yeah.
There was another guy whose name begins with a C. I can't think of it right now, but he was a big guy.
Chris Kelly?
No. He was online for the most part, but
I remember.
But everyone
Mike
smoked.
Lazo.
I would go outside and I'd smoke with these guys, and it'd be the only time I get to really socialize.
Well, there
with
is
them.
like the smoke. There's the drinking brethren, and there's the smoking brethren.
Yeah,
the smoking brethren is more constant because it's usually during the day and at work. I mean, people aren't at 1 o'clock saying like, do you want to go out back and have a beer real quick? But they are like, let's go have and you'll,
somewhere.
you'd have like that one guy who'd walk by your desk or wherever it was and be like, oh, he's going to out to smoke. Okay, I'm going to go out too.
Yeah, and I was bad because I would bum smoke, so all the smokers would hate me.
Yeah.
Because and especially as the price of cigarettes went up, they're like, you're costing me like
and now
$9
giving you $3 every time
$10 a week.
Right, yeah.
But it was the way I would be able to have a conversation with Lazo, which wasn't an easy thing to acquire.
I just always remember first walking into Adult Swim, and there was before they redid the offices, anything, there was this big, like, high window against the highway.
Yeah, that
and
little
he was
area.
Sitting in a little couch, and he had the windows cracked.
Yeah.
And he would lean as close to the window as he could, and just like, he would just smoke and blow the smoke out of the window, but only about 15% of it went out the window.
Yeah.
I heard people tell me stories about when he worked at Turner before Adult Swim even existed, that they could tell where he was because he would smoke in the building and you could just see a little glint of like blonde hair over the cubicle walls and little smoking everywhere. And people would say like, why is he smoking in here? You're not, and they would always say like, oh, he's grandfathered in to smoke.
That's power.
Like, yeah. Well, this was still like when he was not the creator of Adult Swim or whatever you want to call it, but like when he was just like, he worked in some offshoot. He worked in like the mail room or some weird thing that he got to know everybody.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I not degrading people who work in a mail room.
Mike Lazo, the creator of Adult Swim, did not go to college and worked in the mail room at, I think it was TBS.
Yeah, it was Turner something.
And
whatever
so that was what was interesting about that Andy Merrill interview, is that he started as a cameraman at CNN. People were like, how do you get into voice acting? It's like through the most, out of the way means.
I mean, well,
there's no direct line to this gig. It's
everybody. I feel like there probably is more now, but everybody I know who is like a voiceover person, quote unquote, who do like what I do, every one of them has a completely different way of how they got into it.
Yeah.
Some of them were like around recording stuff, so they like worked at a radio station or whatever. Or some of them were just
a lot of them. It's actors who can't get gigs.
Yeah,
and this is the gig that they could get.
Which, by the way, it's like, thanks for slumming, guys. Thanks for bringing yourself down here.
Well, that's the first thing I noticed as I was auditioning, is I saw everybody that was getting the parts and I've said this to you, I think, repeatedly, but they were all people who had just been on Orange is the New Black, or they had some sort of notoriety as a three-dimensional human being.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have great voices. They weren't like the Disney voices where these guys, or Jim Cummings or something like that. These guys can have an amazing range and can do lots of different things. They're just bringing their one voice.
It's a very different skill set, too.
And it's only satisfying to the casting agent or the crew of the show who's like, oh my God, this guy from Orange is the New Black or from Breaking Bad is now on Amphibia.
The other day, I was talking about those big boards that they would put up with everybody's pictures. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like, they don't have to hire Tim Gunn from Project Runway to be the butler on Sophia the First.
Yeah.
A child does not give half of a shit who is playing whatever. That's like the big problem. I would say, like, the first slippery slope of that was those Madagascar movies.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one where they live in
all celebrities.
And it was like the one that they live in. That's like the Ben Stiller's The Lion, and I think those are Madagascar.
And now it's Chris Pratt is Garfield. Chris Pratt is Mario, and it's like he doesn't have a voice,
right? And who cares? The kid doesn't care. A kid goes there like, oh, I can't wait to go see Chris Pratt as Mario. Mom, my dreams are fulfilled.
Yeah,
but I get it. I defend those choices because I realize Entertainment Tonight, or whatever the hell it is now on all the media outlets, they don't want to interview Charles Martinet as Mario. They want Chris Pratt. So guess what? I'm going to pay Chris Pratt $20 million to be Mario so that every news agency in the world will want to interview him and ask him about the Mario Brothers movie. No offense, most people don't want to ask Jim Cummings what it's like to be in Mario, but they would all want to ask Chris Pratt.
Yeah. You're making me realize or think back on the fact that I used to watch Entertainment Tonight every single night of my life as a child.
Everybody did.
Did everybody? I thought I was like the weird.
No.
I felt like I was a weirdo because there's so many things I did in high school that I don't think anybody was doing at the time. Nobody was listening to rap. Nobody was watching.
No one was listening to rap.
Not in my school. No, I would be blasting around and I thought I was hot shit because I was the one person who was playing this music out of their car.
Well, but maybe your school was filled with
I remember
weirdos.
they had that channel E and I would just watch the show that showed trailers for a half hour. Yeah. Like I was really into entertainment.
Talk Soup.
I wasn't into Talk Soup. But that's the right channel. But I was like into all these things like behind the scenes stuff about Hollywood. Yeah. I love trailers. I love behind the scenes. I actually read newspaper articles about like Tim Burton movies or I was into this stuff from a very early age.
I found a box of all this stuff. As I said, I've been cleaning out how we doing?
We're good.
Okay. I found 3 boxes of things I have saved, basically like scrapbook stuff, right? I'm trying to wrestle with this because I don't know what to do with it. Now, I don't necessarily, and the longer I've had it now, I don't necessarily think I should throw it away, but I think I need to cull it. Like I have, the posters that are just on 8.5 by 11 copies from our high school play that everybody signed. Stuff like that. I saved the tickets.
That's when the fires happened. I was like, take it all. Take it all.
I'm struggling.
Let me start over.
But I found all these Entertainment Weekly and Time Out New York magazines that I had because I'm saving the whole magazine. And by the way, the real Time Out New Yorks before the internet, where the thing was like
thick.
This is not an exaggeration. Probably 700 or 800 pages per week because it had every single show that was going on with every time and all the info, like the live theater.
I love that page.
All the music concerts.
I love that page we get this free newspaper in Libertyville, Illinois, and it would have a page of all the movie theaters. Mm-hmm. I'd look, and there used to be like little ads. And I love looking at what was playing at every single theater, and I love looking at all the ads, and I remember all that shit. And TV Guide, I'm sure you could go off on TV Guide, but TV Guide was awesome.
My point being, I have all these magazines like this also in this thing, and I was saving it because there's one, 1 by 1 inch blurb, not even my name. It just says, a show I directed or that I was in or something. And I was like, I saved the magazine because I wanted to keep the little thing, but I've been storing this thing for now 25 years.
Yeah, I have a box of press.
I gotta
I collect all fan art. Anytime a fan gives me art, I feel like it's bad luck to throw it away. So I have like huge paintings, and I keep it all.
What do you do with it?
Well, now I'm at the point where it's like I can't put it up because it makes me look like I'm crazy.
Like I'm an egomaniac,
you're Andy Warhol,
like you're a Middle East dictator. With just pictures of yourself.
I just have Andy Warhols of myself on every wall.
Do you store it at your house, or do you have a storage shed?
I don't have a storage shed. It's all at your house. It's all at my house, and it's all like tucked into a corner. Or it's in the closet, or it's all over the place. I have a guy who made mascot costumes.
Wow!
Who made a mascot head of my cartoon version of me. And that you see on like my album covers and stuff, and it's in my closet. I just have this mascot head of my own head that I can put on and
does it travel?
No, it doesn't do anything.
I mean, is it hard? You can't travel.
It's soft. It's like it's like Mickey Mouse's head.
Yeah, but if you touch Mickey Mouse's head, it's like
pure
it's hard plastic under there.
He sewed it together.
Oh. I'm wondering, you should bring it to one of these conventions, good for photo ops. Have a guy next to you with the head on.
Dave with his meatwad hat.
Yes.
He loves that thing. I think that was a gift from his wife.
It was, and I keep meaning to, the guy who made it makes crazy hats on Instagram, and they sell for thousands of dollars. because he'll do just whatever he said. I'm making a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle hat. But Dave's wife contacted the guy, and he knew what aquatine was, and then he made him. I mean, it's an amazing looking hat. It's crazy, but I love that he wears it like it's the same way we were talking.
It looks like he's storing dreadlocks.
He wants
up
to,
there.
yes, and it's like he does it like he wants to, like he thinks he wouldn't get. Like how he does the voices at the cons all the time. Like he is the first guy to throw the voice out. It's the same with the hat.
Be funny if a fan was like, I don't need to hear the voices.
Yeah, it's
I like your writing.
I just want the.
Does anyone know that he's the creator and the writer of the show?
You know,
because I have to point that out all the time that he's not. He's Carl and he's Meatwad, but he also made the whole fucking thing.
People sometimes, even though they're coming up and giving you their hard-earned money for signatures and stuff, sometimes they still don't know what the hell you do for it. They're like, so you draw these? I'm like, you just gave me $175 to sign all this stuff, and you don't even know what I do for it.
It's hard for me because I actually did draw on these cartoons, and nobody cares about that. That I was an animator or that I wrote some episodes, or everyone's just like.
But I mean, if I was going to go up and give you $175, I would know damn well sure what the hell you did.
Yeah. No.
Unless they're just, I don't know.
Speaking of cons, we've got the go-ahead on doing some live None of This Matters at conventions next fall.
Which is what you're listening to right now.
Yeah. But stay tuned. There might be information about coming to see us live. We'll see how that goes.
Brought to you by Jerry's Tanning Salon.
Why do we have...
we got a sponsorship for...
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, every podcast in the middle of it, there's a little break where I say, give us your sponsorships. And I've gotten like 5 requests, and I haven't answered any of them because it's like, will you promote my band? Will you promote
just from people?
Will you talk about my friend's thing? Or will you talk about this? Will you talk about that? And it's like I'm kind of waiting for just the right thing. Somebody said there might be
a business.
Well, some guy said he might be able to do something with Lorcana. Do you know what Lorcana is?
Oh, that's the Disney card game, right?
The Disney card game.
I haven't played it.
I haven't played it, but I've spent like maybe $300 on cards.
You bought some?
I bought a lot.
I remember when they first came out, I didn't get any because it seemed like it was this massive. I
have this sad life where I have all these cards because I love Magic. I love Lorcana. I have no one. I have all these board games. I've pretty much told myself stop.
Yeah.
Because you have to look at your life sometimes and see what you're really doing. Are you getting together with people and playing board games? Are you getting together and playing card games? Okay, no.
Stop getting them.
Stop buying them.
Yeah.
Because you've run out of space.
I am.
You have anything like that?
I have everything like that. I don't have everything like that, but I have a lot of. My storage shed has brought up a lot of tough questions. Like you
like ephemera. You like
ephemera,
nostalgia, and
I'm like. I'm not.
You're the popcorn bucket guy. You'll buy the buckets.
I'm not a hoarder in the sense like you walk in the kitchen and there's like, empty.
There's not magazines on the stove.
Empty potato chip bags. They're like, no, I can't throw those away. I recognize what garbage is.
Yeah.
But then there's other things.
You don't sleep on a pile of cans.
Right. Popcorn boxes and things. I'm like, no, these are actually...
This is not trash.
I'm trying to wrestle with the decision right now that I may call up one of the 2 auction houses, which I've sold stuff with before, and just say, do you see these entire 2 bookshelves with all this meticulously curated? I found a book, it's as thick as a phone book, filled with every single fast pass from every ride at every single park from probably however long they had it, 15 years, 20 years. I have them. They're all in one little book.
Why did you keep them?
Because I love them.
You know what I collect? Hotel keys.
I have a whole bunch of hotel keys.
I have a bin because I saw it was in, I don't know what museum I was in, maybe Mopop in Seattle, but I saw one of the Eagles had a duffel bag filled with hotel keys. And it was back when they were keys with the plastic on the end, like a plastic shape connected to an actual key.
So he was actually buying all those.
No, he was,
I mean, they were charging
They were
him
stealing.
When you don't,
yeah. But yeah, I have like a whole little shoebox filled with 1,000 hotel keys.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm doing.
Now I
don't know why I have them.
It's stupid. Now I do keep them.
I feel like it's impressive. Like, look at all the traveling I've done. But nobody sees this.
I just found a pair that I think I got from the hotel I stayed in New Orleans, but it's maybe my favorite credit card type hotel key. I'll send you a picture later.
I look forward to it.
Because they look very mysterious, very there's some alchemy going on. They got texture to them. I was like, oh, I don't keep them anymore unless it's something different. Like, I don't need another Hilton or Marriott room key until they change the design.
I really love I love using the app and opening my door with an app. And that's where, now when I'm on tour, like, I pretty much get to do that every day. And if I don't get to do that, it's kind of annoying because I hate dealing with the desk.
Yeah, my problem is I go up and the one time the app, the closer I get to the hotel room, the more I have to pee. Because it's always been a problem. Come from the airport, whatever. I'm like, I can hold it.
It's funny how the brain is.
And then, like, one time I get over there, and if that app doesn't work, then all of a sudden I'm hopping on one leg down to the lobby and all that. So these days I stop at the lobby. I don't do the room key very often.
Do you buy anything from the little grocery store?
Sometimes. If I can go, like when I go to the Richmond show, we're going, I'll get a DoorDash, and I know I'll stock up on my, I'll get some big bottles of water, and I'll get some Diet Coke, and I'll get some kind of something that I know
Why
could be
is it
a
so
snack.
hard to order food to your room? Because I've tried to do this at countless places.
Like room service room?
No. If it was room service, it'd be easy. But calling DoorDash or Postmates or Uber or whatever, and you can't get them to come from their car to your room. You got to
no, they don't want that.
You wait, and then the front desk calls you, said your delivery's here.
Oh, see,
and you got to go downstairs, pick up your bag.
Every time I've had it is just, I'll meet you in the lobby.
You know what? Some of these cons are like, that's really fucking hard to do. Because like, there's a million people. There's a million people all over the place. There's cars all over the place.
Even if people don't actively steal your shit, you know who does? Drunken con goers. They'll be like, hey, look at that bag of whatever's in there. Jerry's sandwich and deli. I'm just going to take that shit. The Richmond one, it's a nice hotel. It's an old department store, very neat. But when the DoorDash comes, they just set it on a little table over by the entry doors so that the DoorDash person can come in and...
There was a time where I was addicted to historic hotels. And I had to...
When you were living in one next to Tony Bennett, probably.
Yeah, I definitely have loved hotels my whole life, but there was a time on tour where I was just like, well, I made a lot of money tonight. I'm going to stay at the Chateau Marmmont, or I'm going to get a bungalow, I'd stay at the Drake in Chicago, or the Roosevelt in New Orleans, or, and I just love these old buildings that would have some sort of history, some sort of thing going on, or there'd be like, you go to the bar, it's 100 years old, and there's a drink named after the mayor, because the mayor used to do all of his business dealings here, and I love all that shit. But I learned to like not do it, because it's like, I don't spend money on hotels anymore. Now I just do something simple.
Unless you
something I can do on an app.
Taylor Swift on tour, you can't stay at all those over a 60-day tour.
I mean, I could.
I mean, you'd have nothing. You'd have no money left.
I would. But I've learned to like not do these crazy things that are really just fun for 24 hours.
Yeah, you can't stay every night at the Chateau Marmmont bungalow.
No, I mean, especially who knows what it costs these days.
Yeah, I mean, it just.
But there was a time where I got myself a room, and I got my roadie a room. I knocked on the door, and he shows up. He's wearing his Chateau Marmmont, and he's a guy from Long Island, and he's a blue collar guy, and he's just living the life with this robe on and getting room service, and I'm like, go for it. We bust our butts so hard every day. And but I love that life.
That was the tour treat.
Yeah, we would have treats. Well, I mean, if I crossed the country, I would get like, do something nice for a night. Because normally we were in Motel 6s and Super 8s, and then there came a point where it was just like, I think there was one time where me and another opener were trying, and there was a woman who was passed out from like a heroin overdose, and her legs were outside the room and her body was inside the room. And I was like, I don't want to touch her, but he was like Christian, so he was okay with like picking her up and
I can touch her. I'm a Christian.
I'm a Christian. I don't think people are gross. And but there was one point that I think that might have been the point where I was just like, and we had police came and we had to like tell them what was going on. But I was like, I don't think I can do these bottom of the barrel hotels anymore.
Yeah, I just my impression of them is that there's just always nothing good going on in them. Yeah, I understand that people have to find lodging who don't have a lot of money, who are driving on some road trip or something, who have no nefarious things. But I watched a lot of episodes of Cops, and 50% of them are all at those hotels.
And then there was the Katrina happened, and people just started living in them. Mm-hmm. And then that was another kind of death knell.
Yeah.
Of me staying at these hotels.
The only ones that remind me of that stuff that are not, and they're right around there, but they're not the ones, are the ones right by Disneyland. Because they're kind of priced out of, even though they still feel like those, they're like the balcony motels with the door on the outside, overlooking the pool or whatever. But they're kind of like a little bit too expensive. But if you go half a mile out of the ring of Disneyland, there's still a bunch of those motels. And those are like the ones that people are living in. Yeah. Because they can't.
That being said, I love a authentic, like 1950s with a neon sign hotel.
Absolutely.
We used to go to one in Indiana. It's torn down now, called the New Joy Hotel.
Whoa.
And we worshiped this thing. It was like it was just like a ranch hotel, one floor, on hotels on both sides. There'd be like a circle around it, and you could rent bikes and you could ride bikes around in a circle around this hotel.
They had an activity.
Yeah, but I mean, I worship this thing, and there's some in LA too.
Safari.
Yeah, there's some places that are kept well.
The Starlet.
I love these old hotels that haven't really gone to shit. Someone kind of like kept it what it is.
There's a place like that where my brother lives in Santa Cruz. That's like a motel, one single story. I can't remember what it's called. It's either like the Hitchin' Post or something like that, Western themed.
Yeah.
But it's adorable. Yeah. It's like this sweet little, it's like, man, remember when America was innocent?
I mean, I love those neon signs. I really miss the neon, and I hate that like all the neon's like in a neon museum or something. Like
I found, speaking of storage sheds, I found my other Adult Swim neon sign.
Oh,
I found several things.
You don't have one of the Boston things.
Oh yeah, I have.
You have a Moon and Night Boston.
I got
art?
2 Moon and Night Boston.
Oh, gosh, I wonder what that would go for these days.
Well, I also found my 2. I was thinking, because you told me you got rid of some of your stuff like that. I would be willing to sell it, but I have no clue what I would, and it would have to be a high price. I found my first 2.
$10,000.
Oh,
at least starting.
Sure, why not? But no, what I found was a whole box. But on the top of the box was my first 2 scripts from Aqua Teen. Mm-hmm. First ones, the Rabbit episode and the whatever the hell the second one, Leprechaunopolis. Yeah. And I was like, oh, somebody
I used to
probably
doodle
buy
on
one
my
of those.
scripts. So when I sold the scripts, they actually were getting something. I had tons of notes, especially the C-Lab scripts. C-Lab scripts would actually have my storyboards.
I mean, how much would you sell them for?
I don't know.
Because I was like, I got all this stuff I want to get rid of, but I'd rather sell it.
Do it through an auction house, because you're more famous than I am.
Well, here's the issues about that. I remember a guy coming and asking me about, do you have any cells from Aqua? I said, they didn't have any cells. I said, I have drawings.
You have Matthew Jenkins sheets. Matthew Jenkins sells his drawings.
Well, and I remember Clay used to sell all of his stuff. Yeah. All the drawings.
Matthew Jenkins just started doing it recently, though. He was just like, anybody want this stuff? And everyone's like, yeah, we all do. We'll give you an outrageous amount of money for all of it.
I mean, I don't know what. I also found all the storyboards when they used to, like, they would deliver them to your house of Chowder episodes. Mm-hmm. But, like, you know, there was, again, thick as a phone book on that big 11 by 17 paper.
Yeah.
Like, and they're just copies. It's not like they're, but I mean, I would like that stuff.
Yeah.
Someone's got to like it.
Well, it was held in your hands.
Well, I mean, my Aqua Teen
maybe
scripts,
you wrote a note in the margins.
And they all, I wrote on them. And so it's like, not like a copy of the copy. But I found like, I don't know how many I have in there. I only saw the first 2 that had the top in there. I was like, I should get rid of these. Give them to someone who will sell them to someone who will appreciate them.
Yeah. You don't have your own eBay page?
I mean, I have a user.
Yeah.
You know, I've sold things on eBay.
Yeah.
Super Snide. That's my eBay name.
Yeah.
But it's mostly like stuff that has nothing to. I also have a brand new. I found 2 other Adult Swim things. I was like, I should get rid of this if somebody. But some guy on whatever wanted to buy. I have a original, never used, still in the box that Adult Swim sent to me, Meatwad beanbag chair. Pristine condition. The guy said, "Ooh, I'd love to buy it off you." I said, "Okay." I said, "But I don't know what it would sell it for." And he goes, "Well, there's one that just went on eBay for $400. And he sent me the link, and I looked at it, and it didn't have the filling in it, which I get it because that's how they were able to ship it. But also, it was like used. The eyeballs, which were just printed on, were like all.
You had it fresh.
Fresh. This thing looks brand new. But then he goes, "I'd buy it off of you for $250. I said, "Why would you
take it on a trip?
Show me the shitty one and say this sold for $400, but then offer to sell it to me for less than the shitty one?"
Unscrupulous people.
I was like, "No." He goes, "Well, what's your number?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, "Well, I'm not just going to start throwing numbers out there." I'm like, "Well, then it doesn't matter. Like, you don't understand how it works. You make me the offer."
Yeah, never throw out the first number.
Yeah. The other thing I found is my fully complete, this I would get rid of too, my fully complete Adult Swim toolbox.
Yeah, I sold off those things one at a time.
And how much did you sell it for, all told?
I don't know. I was always making like something in the hundreds, but like at least 100 per item. But
yeah, so Adult Swim one year for Christmas gave a classic red metal toolbox.
Do you still get a Christmas thing at Christmas?
They stopped doing
it.
That was
one of the first things I was asked to do was Keith was like, "Okay, you're going to send TV trays. Remember the TV trays?"
Sure do.
He's like, "Oh, you're going to send these TV trays to everybody." And this address list blew my mind because it had so many famous people's addresses on it, and I just like drooled over this list. I'm like, I know where David Cross lives.
Who was the most famous person on the list?
All I can remember is David Cross, and thinking this is so cool because he was a '90s comedian, and
but
it was so great.
I remember they sent everybody a red metal toolbox, and it had one tool in it, like a hammer or something.
I can just imagine Mike Leslie being like, "Why don't we send them a box?"
Well, I remember telling Keith, I'm like, "Why would they do that for the Christmas gift?" He's like, "Well, maybe, they'll go out more than 1 year." And then like the next year was like a level.
Yeah.
A third year was like the
I think I have one or 2
screwdrivers.
things are in my actual toolbox.
It was like I know it was a hammer, a level, a set of screwdrivers, and a wrench.
Yeah.
So 4 years of Christmas gifts is just...
They just want to stop thinking about it.
Yeah, and then they'd always give you like a calendar and a nice card and everything. But like, I mean, I
so much crap.
use them. But yeah, I got to get rid of them. If somebody wants to buy them,
everybody wants to buy them. But don't be sloppy about this.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
do it all at once, like a prop house.
Yeah, because I also have like
get an assistant to do all the shipping. Get an assistant to do all the shipping. You can borrow my assistant if you want to.
Yeah, what's he charge? Or percentage of the...
He just had a baby, so I gave him a big raise. I doubled his salary.
Jesus. Well,
Not a lot. But yeah, no, have someone do all the work, have someone take the pics and do all the posting and the listing and everything.
Well, that's like those things. Like when I only have a couple things to put up, I don't mind doing it. I got one of those little boxes that's like a white.
Do it all at once.
Photo studio.
And then you'll get one crazy guy who bids on half of it.
Could be. Yeah.
I have a guy who raises everything by 50 cents like every day, and he doesn't intend to buy anything. He just wants to keep the numbers going up.
Well, I mean, like maybe I'll put that toolbox and just say like $750 complete set.
1,000.
And because some of those people put shit up for prices they're never going to get, but they leave like, look.
But you sign it.
If I have it up for
the
5 years.
And nobody else will have it. It's a one-of-a-kind thing.
Yeah.
I sign everything.
I got some new nice signing pens.
You know, I buy new pens and then I use them and then they're already out of ink. I don't know why this is. I can't find a good Sharpie.
Because you're signing everything. Everything in your house is signed.
I have as many hotel key cards as I have. I have that many Sharpies. And last tour I said, guys, I'm out of silver Sharpies. Can you bring me a silver Sharpie? And then it became a joke where people were bringing me packs of 20 or packs of like rainbow.
You asked your fans
every
to bring
rainbow
Sharpies.
colored Sharpie. So I have all these Sharpies in my house. And then I use them and I'm just like... And then I'm just writing my name 100 times, finding the one that feels right, because it's got to be used a little bit. If it's brand new, it's too fine a point. There's a whole thing.
Sounds like you make a lot of problems. You have
we talked about me
torture yourself.
We talk about me sweating the small stuff.
Yes, but the Sharpie isn't right.
I just can't imagine being a person who's just like, I'm just going to throw this away and not thinking about like the giant landfills or the earth being destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I throw something away, I'm like, God, I just fucked with the planet a little bit, and the planet's given me so much.
My issue
but
too
not
is
everybody,
always
there's
like,
so many people.
This is valuable. This has a use, even though I'm not using it. And I don't even talk about fan stuff, but just like this has a use. I can't get rid of it because it would at this point mean just throwing it away. But my friend Renee, I pay her. She comes and we go through all this stuff, and she's great because she's like, we'll get a whole box of shit I'm getting rid of. And she's like, I'm going to take this to the animal shelter because they'll use this. I'm going to take this here. She finds a place for all the stuff. She's excellent at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
We should go.
Well, thank you, Dana, for being here. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Enjoy your urine.
Yeah. Feels good.
Is that something you say to somebody before a visit?
Enjoy the pee.
Enjoy the urine that's going to come out of you.
Have a good pee.
Have a good pee. That's what I should say. Have a good pee, everybody. Hey, this is MC Chris here again to tell you to go to mcchris.com to check out my tour dates for this summer. Tickets and info, everything you're going to need is right there at mcchris.com. 45 shows. Going everywhere. If we're not coming to your town, let me know. Or if you're a venue who wants to have a show on a day I have a day off, write me at mcchrisbooking@gmail.com. Go to mcchris.com and go check out my tour dates for my big celebrating 20 years of touring tour this summer. I hope I see you out there. Thank you so much for letting me do this for 20 years. That's crazy. I never thought I would hold a job for that long, but you've let me do just that. So I hope to see you out there. Go to mcchris.com and check it out. Thanks. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. Bye.